So is Deion Sanders calling the National Football League racist or unprepared? Not doing their due diligence. Not one HBCU player was drafted into the NFL. Can I make a point to you on that? All the top black players don't go to HBCU schools anymore. I'm not sure what Deion's saying here. Are they calling them? If you're a kid in Louisiana or Alabama, I mean, are you gonna go to Grambling or are you gonna go to Alabama or LSU? Where are you gonna get better coaching? I don't want to take buses to games. I want to take airplanes. What's happened with HBCU, unfortunately, just like the Negro Leagues, all these colleges have integrated now, and the Negro Leagues went away. HBCU is not what it used to be. You know, you could probably put a wing of that Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame, of all the legendary HBCU schools, and you could probably have a hell of a football game with all the Hall of Famers. So when Deion throws that out and says, well, not one kid got drafted, I'm not sure where he's going with it. So are you saying that a team like the Eagles or a team like the Cowboys or Packers aren't drafting anybody from HBCU because they're from black schools? I'm not sure what the connotation is. If there were great players at those schools, they'd be drafting them there. Do you notice one thing about the draft? And this is why Deion's comments, and I love Deion. This is why Deion's comments are stupid. Not one kid in the top 31 picks was drafted from a non-Power 5 team. Bama, Ohio State, Bama, Florida, Illinois, Ohio State, Texas Tech, Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Northwestern, Bama, Iowa, Georgia, Iowa State, Mississippi State, Oregon, Iowa, Pitt, Ohio State, TCU, Boston College, USC, Maryland, Utah, Michigan, Oklahoma, Clemson, Georgia, Kansas State. What's your point, dude? See, that's race baiting. You have no context to that. Okay? You have none. You're just trying to that to me right there is where you kind of throw things out. You know, it's like when you call racism, dude, is there racism in this country? Absolutely. But when you keep using the word and you keep going down that lane, people stop hearing you. The black athletes today don't go to lesser programs. That's not a black-white thing. That's an exposure, coaching, playing against great opponent thing. If I'm a great African-American player, I'm not going to Jackson State. I'm going to LSU. I'm going to A&M. I'm going to Ohio State. That's just today, dude. Okay? That's just today. And what Deion does, he puts a microscope on it, makes the NFL feel like, again, they have to comment on that. They shouldn't. Nobody in their right mind is going to draft and have a white draft board and a black draft board. You're looking for the best football players you can find to help your team win. You are. I personally believe that. Okay? So Deion was race baiting there. You should be asking the high school African-American players why they're not going to HBCU schools. That's the question. Not whether or not the NFL drafts. The NFL is not obligated to hire you if you're not good enough or they don't think you're good enough. So, again, I saw that article and I'm like, this is ridiculous for him to say that. African Americans don't go to school there anymore that are football players. Okay? Hurts, as he goes, Deion is still struggling with the CU choice. Probably because he knows he's got a shitty team. Probably. And by the way, should have been the Auburn coach instead of that scumbag Hugh Freeze. Okay? Absolutely. Absolutely should have been the Auburn head coach. Don't regret that decision. Freeze will do something stupid and he'll be fired because he always does. Okay? Kelly Green goes, not true, you're white, you don't know. So so wait a minute, Kelly Green. You're under the assumption if you're one of the top-rated black football players, you're going to Jackson State over Alabama. Sure. Right. Why would you go to a lesser program? This is nothing to do with civic pride. Kids go to school to the best programs in the country. You know why? Because they're going there to take airplanes to games, staying in high-class hotels, black and white, not staying at Motel 6s. They don't have the economic resources that these power programs, Conference USA, the Mountain West, the Sun Belt Conference can't compete with SEC. You guys know that every single Southeastern Conference school, which is 10 of them, you know they got $68 million last year in television rights alone. You know what the Pac-12 got? 28. And you're trying to tell me about a kid should go to HBCU over LSU. Why? Why? Why should a black family in Florida tell their kid to go to a lesser program if he could go to Florida or Georgia? Why? Because of the history? That's for political people and bullshit artists. I want my kid to go to the best school possible. I want my kid to get the best coaching, black or white. Not to sit there and go, well, they used to do this back in the 60s. I don't give a shit about that. My kid needs the best schooling today. My kid needs the best opportunity today. The chances of that kid being a first-round pick at a Jackson State is slim to none. My kid being drafted number 1 overall out of Alabama is 10 times. It's not like it used to be. By the way, the history of the HBCU, Doug Williams is one of my closest friends. He's on the board of directors. That's why they're trying to get Nike to put more money into the programs. Well, let me ask you this. Why doesn't the NCAA kick more money into the HBCU programs? They got a ton of money. Why don't they do it? Why doesn't Nike put more money in? Why doesn't Adidas? Why should the NFL be the only one that Deion singles out? We're all the sponsors. We're the airlines coming to those programs going, here's free airline tickets. Sway coach, you don't know what you're talking about. Sway goes like this. I'll go to Eastern Maryland Shore over going to Maryland. I don't know what I'm talking. Really? How do you look at that and say that that's common sense? You don't know what you're talking about. You're trying to tell me you think that there's kids in those conferences that are compatible to the Southeastern Conference and Big Ten. And so not one kid was taken from a Division I AA program. What does that tell you? All the kids today are going to the big programs because of the transfer portal. They're not stuck on programs any longer. The transfer portal itself has destroyed HBCU. Why? Because if you're a second-team guy at Bama, now you get to go to Tennessee or you get to go to Kentucky and you get to play. You've eliminated Sun Belt, Mountain West pretty much, and HBCU. Those kids don't get to stockpile any longer on these programs. The transfer portal is free agency. That's why you don't see Mississippi Valley State anymore. Or North Dakota State. You don't see that shit. You're not going to see it anymore. The transfer portal has done more damage to HBCU than anything. Because all those kids that were second and third team guys at Texas A&M are now transferring to Oklahoma, USC, and Iowa State. Okay, whatever, guys. Yeah, because I'm sure you've been massively recruited. Let's move on here and take a look at the draft. Actually, let me do this one. This is my post. I'm going to show you this. Seals, you know college teaches kids to be a victim. If you want to be a pro, I'm going to go to the best place to make it happen. Truth. Truth. S. Blunt, we are going to. I agree. I agree. Because some don't. Hey, listen, we'll agree to disagree. Okay? It's all good. That's one thing Big Sills will do. We're not. In the old days, I would hammer that topic, but you're right. Let's move on. I'm with you. This is my post. This is my post. JM, you're damn right. 87% admittance to Alabama, just so you know. Almost 9 out of 10 kids who apply to Alabama get in. That's a fact. All right. This is my post coaches, free agency, and draft top 10 for the NFC and AFC. Okay? Let's start with the AFC. The difference in the AFC and the NFC is without a doubt massive. Okay? And by the way, I think the Eagles could hang. And I'm gonna make a point to you here after I put this list together where I think the Eagles would be if they were on the AFC side. Okay? And I know some of you will probably disagree. Here's the AFC top 10. I get the Browns here. I think Cleveland had a good draft. They filled needs. This is a big year for Deshaun Watson. I think they have a lot of talent on that side of the ball, defensively. I think they're going to be a team that's going to be formidable this year. I think Watson's got a lot to prove. I think Kevin Stefanski has a lot to prove. I got the Browns at number 10. 9. I got the Miami Dolphins here. The question mark's the quarterback. And you know what's cool about the question mark about the quarterback? It's not that Tua can't play. It's not that he can't play. It's if he can play consistently. And if he can be healthy. The kid can play. I think one thing has come out of the last 2 years with Tagovailoa. He can play. Doesn't have the greatest arm. Manning didn't have the greatest arm. But the kid can play. They picked the option up, which they should have. And I believe he could play. Now, keeping him healthy, they got a ton of talent down there. They got a ton of talent on defense. I think the Dolphins could be a surprise. Maybe they're lower than they should be. But I think post-draft, post-free agency, we still got June 1 yet. I think the Dolphins, with Chris Greer, their general manager, who I really like, I think they got a good football team. Number 8, I got the Jets. I want to see them do it. I want to see Rodgers do it. I want to see Rodgers do it in a conference that has a ton of really good quarterbacks week in and week out. And there is no question. The NFC North, which he's owned like Chicago, bro, you're in now the AFC East. Buffalo owns that division. And you're in a division where you got a bunch of good football teams in there now. Miami's good. Buffalo's good. New England's going to always be competitive. Dude, you got to get in the room here I think Joe Douglas has put a lot of talent together. I do. I got the Jets at 8. Number 7, you guys may think I'm nuts here. Okay, you may think I'm nuts. I got the Broncos. I'll tell you this. If Russell Wilson fails this year, it is over for him. And it's over for Denver. They pushed all their chips in on the coach, and they pushed all their chips in on the quarterback. If these guys can't right this ship, and last year was just kind of a, kind of just an off year. If last year wasn't just an anomaly and you have another sorry-ass year, man, the Broncos are in purgatory for a long time. Look at all the draft choices they gave up. They had to give up draft choices for Sean Payton. The money that they spent on Russell Wilson's contract. I think they're going to be a good football team. Again, I think they turn it around. They've put too much in. Hey, would you guys agree? If Russell Wilson and Sean Payton don't turn this around in Denver, doesn't this hurt their legacies when it comes to Hall of Fame conversation? Or do you think it's etched in stone? Personally, I don't think Sean Payton's a Hall of Fame coach. I don't think he's a Hall of Fame coach. Not yet. Okay, I don't. He's 9-7 in the postseason. He had Drew Brees. Everyone's making it sound like this guy's some quarterback guru. Why? Because he gave Taysom Hill some shitty contract? Russell Wilson, man, if he doesn't make this happen like Brady, see, this is the thing he has going against him. Even Matthew Stafford made it work in LA. Brady made it work in Tampa. Hey, maybe what Brady and Stafford did ain't so easy after all. Right? Maybe it's not so easy after all. 6, I got the Ravens. Defensively, I'm a little concerned. You got Beckham, first-round draft choice. They went and got the kid Flowers from Boston College on the other side. They're tied in. Probably hey, I'd like to get this. Wouldn't be shocked to see Zeke Elliott there. Something like that. Maybe they make a trade for Derrick Henry. I don't know. Maybe they get Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook in that backfield with Lamar. I think Lamar needs a running back. Okay? And Yell goes that the Ravens are fragile. They're fragile because they're light in many positions. They're not a deep team, which is shocking, actually. They're just not deep. They get injuries in the offensive line or they get injuries in the D-line, they're not very deep, and that could hurt them. I got the Chargers at 5. Why? I don't know. I think that team has more talent than 80% of the football teams in the league. Talented line, O-line, talented D-line, talented wide receivers. Get the Eckler thing done. You got a quarterback who's very talented. You got pass rushers. You got Derwin James. You got the kid coming back from New England that had to sit out last year. You got players all over the field. You got a suspect coach, and you got shitty ownership. I don't know. It just seems to me they trip over themselves. There is so much talent with the Chargers. They should be doing a hell of a lot more than what they do, but they don't. I mean, get that Austin Eckler deal done. What are you thinking about? He's a major component to the success of that team. I'd rather lose one of the wideouts than Eckler. Dude, oh no, I guarantee you, watch this. You know how you're going to really set the whole year back? They're going to pick up the 5th-year option on that thing with Justin Herbert. You're going to pick the 5th-year option up. Why? Because you're cheap. They don't want to pay $55 million. So they'd rather turn around and pay 36. Spanos, man, they shouldn't own that team. They don't want to win. They don't want to win. They would rather rob Peter to pay Paul, which means this. They'd rather send Joey Bosa somewhere than pay him and the quarterback. It's completely the opposite of what they do in Philadelphia. I believe that owner wants to win. I believe that owner is a winner. I believe that owner believes in quality people in his organization and probably in every single business he has. He likes good folks around him and intelligent people and motivated people. Remember this, I told you, man, dude, perseverance wins. There's a ton of people out there that have MBAs and have Harvard degrees that are dumb as shit. Okay? You can outwork them dudes. I told you this yesterday. Everyone has a white flag somewhere. Let me give you a great comment. Okay? Let me give you a great comment. Howard Schnellenberger used to tell our guys this comment. Man, he would run us. We would never, back in the day, we would never get water breaks. Remember something. Howard Schnellenberger was with Bear Bryant at the Junction Boys. And he ran the program like that. We never got water breaks. We got 3 hour in the Miami heat and humidity running drills. No breaks, running drills. Finally, Kevin O'Neill, our trainer, or Andy Clary, our trainer, would come to him and go, Howard, you got to give these guys a water break. You're going to kill someone out here. And we would run from one end of the field to the other. By the time we got there, the whistle blows. So you grab as many waters as you can and you drink them. That's how I was trained. And Howard would pull us all in the middle, and Jimmy would pull us all in the middle. And he would say, remember this, your mind will quit before your body will. Most of you have never driven your body to complete exhaustion where you fainted. And he's right. Your mind quits first. There's a point, everyone has it. Until you're stretched to that moment, you don't really know until you feel it, and then you know your limits. Howard found your limit for you and what your limits were and wanted you to go beyond it. Same with Jimmy. That's how I was trained. We were trained to find our limit. If you put your hand up, back then, today, people do it all the time. Back then, if you put your hand up, you didn't probably play. You were afraid. Nobody put their hand up. Tired. Around those men? No, not happening. They came to us, man. This Coach Maddox came to us and told us Howard was at Junction Boys. So if you think that guy's going to give you guys a day off, you're out of your freaking mind. Let me give you one last story before we move on here and continue on the AFC side. So we played Florida State one year, and we got beat pretty handily. We're walking off the field. Schnellenberger goes like this. Where you guys going? This is after a 3-hour football game. Where you guys going? Well, it's the end of the game, Coach. Where you going? You guys gave no effort. Went out there and had a 3-hour practice. 3-hour full contact scrimmage after a Florida State game. Lights are going off. That's how I was trained. You walked off the field, man. You couldn't hold your helmet. You couldn't hold your helmet. You had to get your pads off because you couldn't hold them up on your shoulders. I have fallen to my knees being coached by them guys. When I see guys doing this today, I'm like, dude, Jerome Brown was right there. Jerome was in it. Highsmith, Irvin, all of us, we're all in it. drove you to exhaustion, no water, 3-hour practices. And can you imagine no water breaks in a 3-hour practice today? They'd arrest him. Yo, can you think about that? They'd arrest Howard Schnellenberger today for cruelty. No water breaks. Dude, I've gone through a practice like that. You don't deserve water. Shit, Jimmy, you heard the story one day. Jimmy Johnson was so pissed off at the Cowboys flying back from Washington, he didn't give them the team meal back to Dallas. And that's pro guys he did that shit to. Guys making millions of dollars. He goes, Jimmy, you want to serve the meal? He goes, no meal. Everyone, hey, no meal. Can we get water? No meal. Dude, the stewardesses were like this, and even the assistant coaches went, JJ, come on, man, they got to give him dinner. And he goes, no dinner. They weren't hungry enough? No dinner. See that guy you see on TV? That's why I tell you, when Jimmy comes on, that guy you see on TV, that's not the same dude I know. Dude, man, that guy was a tyrant, man. That guy was a tyrant. Those guys were all tyrants, man. Holy shit. Oh, man. No dinner. So I got here at my AFC. I'm ranking post-free agency and post the draft. Browns 10, Dolphins 9, Jets 8, Broncos 7, Ravens 6, Chargers 5. I got the Jags 4. Okay? Okay? Jags 4. 3, I got the Bills. 2, I got the Bengals. And number 1, I got the Chiefs, the reigning champions. Here's now my top 10 NFC teams. And I'll tell you where I would rank the Eagles with all these top 10 teams. Bills need a running back. Bills need a running back, and I think they need another safety. I got the Saints at 10. I think Derek Carr is going to go into that division and win it. I think it's going to be between them and the Panthers. I think Frank Reich's going to go into Carolina, and I got Carolina at 9. I got the Saints. I think the Saints are going to have a good season this year. I don't like Dennis Allen. Okay? I don't like Dennis Allen. But I do like the organization. I like the Benson family, and I like Mickey Loomis. Okay? As I said, I got the Panthers at 9. 8, I got the Giants. Were the Giants a one-year wonder kind of deal? You think the Giants were a one-year kind of... I mean, how much faith do you have in Daniel Jones? Dude, I would make this comment to you. I think Daniel Jones is the most overpaid quarterback in the NFL right now. I think Kirk Cousins. I would take Kirk Cousins over Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones? Was he that impressive to you? Sills, do you think Swift's an upgrade from Sanders? I do. Because he's a pass catcher. Okay? Giants have a good coach. Yeah, I get it. But follow me here. Twiz. When the coach is more popular and is talked about more than anyone on your team, isn't that a problem? I don't want to talk. That's a problem in Dallas. You talk more about Jerry Jones than you do Dak. The face of the Cowboys is the owner. the face of the Eagles is Jalen Hurts. Howie Roseman to some extent. I don't know. There's something about the Giants. Makes me think that they may have a step back this year. I put the Lions at 7. And the reason I put the Lions at 7, I want to see it. You got all the talent. You see that they're talking about a contract extension with Jared Goff. I think that's the appropriate thing to do. Contract extension with Jared Goff? Okay. All right. Sure. I think Jared Goff has revitalized the Lions. I would make this point to you. He's doing something Matthew Stafford really hasn't done. He's made the Lions better. I mean, they're better. Now, I think Brad Holmes is a pretty good general manager. It's turning out looks like he's like something in the Ron Hughes realm. I mean, I like the Lions, but I got to see the Lions do it. I got to see them do it, right? I think that's fair. I didn't really like their draft that hot. But they may have drafted people that will play. You know what I mean? Do you think me putting the Rams at 6 is high? Fully healthy Rams team. You don't think the Rams are one of the top 10 teams in the NFL, or I should say in the NFC? I just don't think the NFC is that good. Healthy Stafford, healthy Donald, Cooper Kupp, healthy team. I know they got rid of Ramsey. I don't know. I got to think the Rams, with the people that they have on their team, I got to think the Rams are going to have a bounce back, right? Look, I'm not saying they're the elite of the NFC, but I think they're a good team. Well, when you say Alexander goes, the Rams are done. Okay, well then who else in the NFC do you put in the top 10? The Cardinals? The Bears? Washington? Maybe. Nobody in the NFC South? The West? Seattle? San Fran? The Rams? Okay? I mean, you're making it sound like there's a shitload of teams out there. The Bears? I don't see it yet. Washington maybe. But I see the Rams. I mean, I think they got too much talent, man. And not everybody played last year. So, by default, hey, by the way, I don't think the Rams are great either, though. It's not like I think the Rams are great. I don't. I just think that there's no really good teams in this division or conference. Falcons? Dude, really? I'll take the Rams over that. Tony, you're going to take the Falcons? Okay, I'll take the Rams. If we're going those two teams, Sills, Rams or Bears? Rams. Rams or Washington? There's a debate there. I think there's talent in Washington. I got the Cowboys at 5. Dak, you got to do something, dude. $49.5 million you're going to make this year. Son, if not now, when? I don't know. The run game, Tony Pollard. I mean, they take the guy from Michigan in the first round who I thought was a third rounder. Maybe they make a trade for a back. But if they don't have a good running game this year, Dak's dead. The Cowboys have to have a good run game. They have to. I mean, it's got to be top 5. For the Cowboys to have a shot at the NFC Championship game, they got to have a top 5 running game. And I don't see where they have a top 5 running game. Cosmo. Well, let me ask you this, Cosmo. How many years has Dak been in Dallas? Now he's making almost $50 million. How many playoff wins does he have? If he's not on the hot seat, then where are you going? Where are you going with Dak Prescott? You know, where are you going with him? Look, I get, Sills, if you're going to replace somebody, what's your option? You're right. Cooper Rush? Not really. But dude, man, if I were the Cowboys, I may have sent Dak to Green Bay and said, send me Aaron Rodgers. Let's go try to win a Super Bowl. You need an adult throwing the ball. And by the way, that's not a fair take on his character because I like Dak's character and I like Dak who he is, okay? All right. I mean, I like Prescott. But dude, Dallas will never be irrelevant. Look at the TV ratings according to Jerry. Now, if you're talking about irrelevant in the postseason, yes. Touche. Okay. Oh, another one of those great faces of the franchise. I think Dak is great. I've got no problem. I just don't think he wins. Last year, the picks. You know why the picks went up? The running game suffered. You got rid of Amari Cooper. So it exposed Dak. Plus, he's coming off an injury. I mean, did you expect him really to play well when he started losing talent around him? He's another one of those guys that needs a shitload of people around him to succeed. Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Godwin, Gronk, Leonard Fournette, a good old line. Even Brady. Now, Brady needed less in New England when he was younger. But even Rodgers needs more. So to me, the Cowboys are judging themselves by the regular season and not the postseason. And it's a flaw. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are get this, I don't really think much. See, I saw someone go like this, Sills 15-2. I could care less whether they're 15-2 or whether they win 12 games or 11 games. Does it matter? As long as Philadelphia has home field advantage and the playoffs run through Philly, if you win 10 or 15 games, does it matter? Jalen Hurts is not going to be gauged on winning 15 regular season games. I just watched the Boston Bruin team get knocked out of the playoffs by a very underachieving or a very overachieving Florida Panthers team. I just watched the 76er team without the MVP beat a Celtic team that was favored by 10 points. Come on, guys. Okay? I don't care what the Eagle regular season record is. I don't care. I care they get home field, host it, win it, go play for it. You think the Giants cared that they were a 10-6 football team when they beat the undefeated Patriots? Who cares? Who cares? That undefeated Patriots team goes down in infamy now. They got beat by Eli. Yeah. Number 3, I got the Seahawks. I got the Seahawks at 3. I think Seattle's had a good draft. I think they're doing great things in Seattle. I think John Schneider's had a heck of an offseason. Restructuring of Geno Smith's contract. I think they drafted people that are going to play. Who would have thunk it? Seattle is better off without Russell Wilson. Wow. Very seldom do you move off a franchise quarterback who's still got juice in the tank and you're better. Detroit's better. Albeit the Rams won the Super Bowl, but Detroit's better without Stafford. Dude, you don't see that stuff. That's not common. So the Lions are better without Stafford and Seattle's better without Russell Wilson? Wow. Kudos, Geno. Kudos. Pete. No wonder Pete Carroll, 2 years earlier, prior to Russell Wilson being traded to Denver, Carroll was trying to move the guy 2 years in a row. No wonder he was trying to move him 2 years in a row. He wanted to get out from under all that. He wanted to move on. Probably 2 years too late for Denver. Right now, it looks like Pete got every bit of success out of Russell Wilson, doesn't it? Who would have ever said this comment? If Russell Wilson fails this year in Denver, he won because of Pete Carroll. Because now we're saying this about Belichick. Well, Belichick won because of Brady. Well, Carroll's got to get that love then, too, on the other end, no? If he has another bomb season in Denver, you go like this. Damn, Pete. Way to go, dude. You ran that dude across the finish line and made him a Hall of Fame quarterback. Because without you, he sucks. That's what's on his dinner plate. Brady threw it back at Belichick. This guy won a Super Bowl on Zoom calls. Guy picked up his lunch pail and went to Tampa. Zoomed it through pandemic, won a Super Bowl. And now Bill is looking for his first playoff win in 3 years. I don't know. Not a good look for the dude up in New England. The hoodie's got some answering to do this year if that team shits the bed. Look at Pete. Pete's like, hey, Russell could talk about all the shitty environment he wants here in Seattle. We're winning now. He's right. I got the 49ers too. I know. Quarterback. It's a great roster. It's a great roster. Two best rosters are in the NFC. Number one's the Eagles. So your top 10 NFC. Saints, Panthers, Giants, Lions, Rams, Cowboys, Vikings, Seahawks third, 49ers second, Eagles one. AFC, Browns, Dolphins, Jets, Broncos, Ravens, Chargers, Jags, Bills, Bengals, Chiefs. Now, where would the Eagles fit with these 20 teams? Where would you put the Eagles? Who would be your top five out of these teams? Who would be your top five teams? AFC, NFC. I haven't even written it down yet. You'd have the Eagles third, second, top two. Huh. Something's wrong with me. Hey, something's wrong with me. Something's happened. I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's happened to me. Top three or four. Eagles 3, Eagles 2. Oh, you're going to grade me on my penmanship now, Marcus? Screw you. Sea of Green 3. Eagles will blow out Bills and Bengals. Wait a minute, Sills. On March 13th. I said this, Joe. I revised it. Yes, I did. Not cowering. You've had a great if you remember what I said in that soundbite, Joe, as of March 13th. As of March 13th. So let me ask you something, Joe. Have things changed since March 13th? Just professionally. Yes or no? Joe, do you think things have changed since March 13th? When free agency started and you lost 5 starters and you had holes everywhere on defense. It's not apologize. As of March 13th, I didn't believe they were a playoff team because of the holes on defense. Now, this guy's had the greatest offseason that I could have imagined. It is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Oh, here are my top 5 teams. With the 20 teams that we just talked about, that is a great take by Yale. How he's kept the momentum going, hasn't he? How he's kept the momentum going. Okay, Michael, you're right. Shakir. Maryland Eastern Shore doesn't have a football team anymore? Oh, that sucks, man. I think Art Shell came from there. Either Art Shell or Upshaw. I forget. One of those two came. Maybe it was Art Shell. Did Art Shell come from Maryland Eastern Shore? I could have swore one of those Raider guys came from that program. I could have swore that he came from that. Art Shell? Okay. Here's my 5. I got the Bills at 5. I got the 49ers at 9. I got the Bengals at 3. I got the Chiefs at 2. And I got the Eagles right now with the best football team in the NFL. You guys think the Chiefs defense is better than the Eagle defense? Chris Jones? What else? You guys think the Eagles, you think they have a better defense than the Eagles? Kansas City, Eagles, Cincinnati, Jets, Bills. You must be a Jody Mack fan. You guys, do you think Kansas City has a better defense? More talented guys. See, I don't. No, and watch this. Do they have the advantage at tight end? Here, let's do this. And I did this a little bit last night. Chiefs, Eagles. Quarterback. Chiefs. He's the best guy in the league. It's not a rip on Jalen. He's the best guy in the league. Running game. I think that's the Eagles. O-line. Eagles. Wide receiver. Eagles. Tight end. He's the best in the league. Kelsey. And the Eagle guy's not, he's a top 5 guy too. Quarterback, got the advantage. Running game, Eagles. O-line, Eagles. Wide receiver, Eagles. Tight end, Chiefs. Well, that's 3-2 to me. And that's the strength of the Chiefs. Let's look at the defense. D-line. You think the Eagles, the Chiefs have even with Chris Jones. Here, let me throw this out to you. Even with Chris Jones, Nolan Smith, Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, Jalen Carter versus Chris Smith, Chris Jones, and a bunch of nobodies. I think it's Philly. Linebackers, Chiefs. Safeties, push. Corners, Eagles. What kind of keeps this close is coaching, because the coaching is clearly on the side of the Chiefs. New coordinators, Spagnuolo and Andy Reid. You're not beating that. Okay? You're not beating that. They're better coaches. Spagnuolo, former NFL guy, head coach guy, and a really good coordinator. And you got a play calling head coach who could go down in NFL history as one of the absolute best. So coaching is on the side of Kansas City. Front office, well, Veach learned to cut his chops in Philly. I would say front office-wise, because Howie's had to rip this thing up 3 different times, along with Joe Banner, I would say Philly. It's pretty compatible. But here, if you don't have Patrick Mahomes on that Chiefs team, I think it's a runaway sweep. Because Kelsey's not going to be the same tight end with Kirk Cousins. You think Kirk Cousins and Travis Kelce are the same? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, don't the Eagles have a better football team? Don't they have a better football team than Kansas City? Coaching's better. Quarterback's better. I think that is really what keeps it close. Because, dude, if you had Marty Schottenheimer, I don't think that's a difference maker. If you had Josh McDaniel, that's not a difference maker. Andy Reid's a difference maker. Let me say this to you. If you had Brian Daboll as the head coach in Kansas City, that's not a difference maker. Andy Reid's a difference maker because he's won everywhere he's gone. He's developed and he's coached. McNabb. Hey, by the way, McNabb and Mahomes coming out of college. I mean, one guy came out of Texas Tech and the other guy came out of Syracuse. Not hotbeds for quarterbacks when it comes to putting QBs in the NFL. Those aren't hotbed programs. I mean, Syracuse used to be good in the 50s and 60s and kind of decent when McNabb was there. But they're not year in and year out like world beater Syracuse. Syracuse is a hoop school now. Texas Tech. I mean, okay. What, Billy Joe Tolliver is the only other quarterback I could think that came out. Remember that stiff? Billy Joe Tolliver. I killed that guy in college when we played Texas Tech down at the U, at the Orange Bowl. He came in there and we killed that kid. Hey, this is not saying who's going to win the Super Bowl. I'm asking you who's got a better team. Would we agree your better teams right now are Eagles, Chiefs, Bengals, Niners, Bills? Those are the 5 best teams in the NFL. Again, any one of these teams can win the Super Bowl, I think. Because the war of attrition has to hit these rosters yet. Eagles got lucky last year. You put 22 guys in the Super Bowl, which is amazing that in Super Bowl 57, you guys had 22 guys out there on the field. Unheard of. Unheard of. And get this, look at something else on your team, and especially on your offense. You upgraded your quarterback position. You upgraded the quarterback position. You, now with Swift, have upgraded the running back position. You've addressed the right guard loss. That's the only glaring weakness. Not weakness. That's the only glaring question mark. Is your right guard. One position. After an offseason like this, one position on offense. It's an important position. But like Jimmy Johnson said a couple days ago, I will take the most important person on my coaching staff and in my building is my O-line coach. And Jimmy goes like this, Bill Callahan in Cleveland, and your guy and Philly are the two best O-line coaches in the NFL right now. And he goes, I will take a great D lineman over a D-line coach any day. But you can't find these O-line coaches. They're hard to come by. That's why Philly kept him and fired everybody else on the offensive side when Doug left. We do have the better team, but Andy knows how to win with nothing. Correct, Weapon. That's why my definition of what I just did here was who has the best team. That doesn't mean you win. We watched the Boston Bruins with 65 wins just get knocked out of the playoffs in the first round. Guys win the President's Cup, and they got knocked out of the NHL playoffs. I mean, you watch Milwaukee. You saw Boston last night. Just because you got the best roster doesn't mean you're going to win it. Okay? That doesn't mean that. I asked you who you thought had the best team today on May 2nd. Okay? I got these 5 teams: Eagles, Chiefs, Bengals, 49ers, and Bills. Okay? Those are my 5 teams. I think the Jags are coming up. I think the Jags are trending up. I think the Chargers, I don't know what they're doing. The Ravens, we'll see what they do defensively. The Broncos, huge question mark. The Jets, bigger question mark. Dolphins, can the quarterback stay healthy? Browns, the quarterback, period. NFC, Saints, who are they fighting in the NFC South? Carolina, Atlanta, the Bucs. Baker Mayfield is the face of the Bucs now. So you go from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield. That's like jumping off a cliff. Panthers, I think they're trending up. Giants, I don't know. You made a commitment to a guy that I would never made a commitment to. Lions, trending up. Cowboys, are they ever? No, that's all they love is trending. The Cowboys just worry about trending. They don't worry about winning. They should be called the Dallas Trenders because that's all they care about is trending. How many games have you won the last 30 years that matter? 2. Jesus, 2. I think it's 3. But, I mean, seriously, in the last 30 years, Dallas has won 3 significant games. And none of them were in the NFC title game. Shit, they haven't gotten to a conference title game in 27 years. The Jags have been to more, get this, the Jags have been to more conference title games in the last 27 years. And so have the Bengals than the Cowboys. Hey, Yale, did you think about that? The Jags and the Bengals have been to more conference title games than the Cowboys have been in the last 27 years. The Jags and the Bengals. Howie did it again. Cowboys had a horrendous draft. Big Seals, do you think Cam Jurgens starts? I do. So wait a minute. Before I take a timeout, the Bengals and the Jags have been to more conference title games than the Cowboys in the last 27 years. America's team. Shit. I guess you don't have to be that good anymore. I got grades on every single football team. 3 days of the draft. I went and looked at everything. We're going to do that. Also, Philly 500, bottom of the hour, 5:30 Eastern. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.